You're listening to Grown and Growing with Sonia Hamlin. Hey everybody, welcome back to Grown and Growing. So glad to have you here. I have a great conversation coming up with Jenna Lockett, an interior designer and owner of the design firm Heaven Sent Design Décor. I wanted to have this conversation with Jenna because home is such an important aspect of having peace of mind. For me, my house is where I go to be 100% me, to have it exactly the way I want it to be, and where I can just let my hair down. Even if that means finding a place away from my husband and my kids, it's just a place where I just feel 100% me. We moved into this house about almost a year ago, and it's actually the third house that we've ever purchased. And I'm not saying it as a flex because each of those previous purchases came with its own set of very hard lessons that I'll tell you about one day. Anyway, with this most recent house, it was the first time after the purchase that I have felt an overwhelming sense of peace. It was like there was no regrets, there were no worries, and it just felt like the right decision at the time for me and my family. And this house isn't the biggest house or the fanciest house or the newest house, but I love it for me and my family. And most importantly, it's everything we need without being a burden, which is exactly what I prayed for. Anyway, I say all that to say, I'm looking forward to doing renovations in this house to really put my stamp on it. And I plan to hire an interior designer to help me. I talked to Jenna about turning a house into a home. Shout out to Luther Vandross. Even if you don't have the resources to hire an interior designer, or if you just have the skills and ability to do it yourself, this is a great conversation. So before we jump into this conversation with Jenna, let me tell you a little bit about her. Jenna Lockett is an interior designer and founder of Heaven Sent Design Décor. Jenna takes pride in her ability to transform spaces by bringing ideas, concepts, and inspiration to life. She has a keen eye for creating awe-inspiring surroundings while finding creative ways to help budget-conscious clients design their dream spaces. Jenna's detail-oriented, client-focused approach makes her flexible and fun to work with. Her personal design style is a balance of modern contemporary with a flair for the eclectic, for natural resources, and bold colors. Jenna is passionate about many things in life, including God, family, friends, design, and travel. She's a military veteran and wife, born and raised on the Jersey Shore, but currently living in San Diego, California. She has a bachelor's degree in business, and she is currently studying for her MBA. Now, let's get into this topic. Welcome, Jenna. Thank you for joining us on Grown and Growing. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because this was just a way for me to get advice about my house. So I was like, I know you have a lot of good ideas. I know you have a great eye. For those of you guys who don't know, Jenna owns her own interior design company called Heaven Sent Design. And I've worked personally with her, which we'll get into as we have this conversation, but she's done some work for me. Hopefully she'll do work for me in the future. And I really wanted to have you here today because, your home is your sanctuary. It is where you go for respite and peace. Right. And I think it's important to have a house that you love. And I'm gonna be honest, I really didn't understand I didn't make that a priority for myself until recently. And now that I'm in this stage of my life, I was like, it's a priority to have my house in a way that I love. So when you are styling somebody's home and you do a reveal, what have your clients told you about how that makes them feel? Like, What are the reactions that you get?
Honestly, initially, I think it's so overwhelming. Like when you first walk into a new space, you're kind of like, you're just taking it all in. You can't look at everything. You're just like, you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. But by the end of the night, if not the latest the next morning, I'm getting a message like, oh my God, thank you so much. You've changed my life. I had the best sleep ever. I'm going to sleep so you know. So it's very rewarding to know that it does change a person's life, kind of, because that is their environment. And as you were saying, it is your sacred space, which I call it, and it makes you feel a place for you to be proud of. A lot of individuals just aren't proud of bringing people over for whatever reason. And I think finally it's a place that you're comfortable and your guests will be comfortable. So
absolutely. There's nothing like walking. First of all, when you did our house and you didn't even, I mean, you came in and did like a refresh or it wasn't a refresh because it was pretty bad. And then you came in and made it great. I mean, it is like you are excited to come home. You feel like you are pulled together. You feel like, oh my God, when people walk in, they're gonna be like, this girl got it together. And you feel like an adult, honestly. Like this is my adult space. And that's one of the reasons I don't really like working from home, because I do like for my house. Like when I come in here, I'm like, I leave work behind. It's where I can chill. I am very particular about bringing, like, I want to come home and feel great about that.
Right. Right. Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I think we're put together in certain areas of our life. And sometimes I think pulling your home together, or your space, your office, or whatever, your store, that's just not a knack that some people have. It's not a skill that they have. And we're all skilled with something, or we all have a gift, but some people, that's just not their gift. So I love to serve in that way.
And how did you discover your gift? How did you get into interior design? I mean, clearly you have design. I can only see a third of your body, but I'm like, she got style. Clearly. So how did you get into design?
Oh, thank you, Sonia. It was very organic. If you get to know me as a person, I'm just very like, I don't know if I would say shy, but I'm not a show off. Like, I don't show off what I can do. I didn't used to anyway. And so we were selling our house. My husband's military. I think we were discussing that. He retires next year. So he's a military. We're selling a home in Virginia before we moved here to California. And different realtors were coming to show the property. And they're like, who staged your house? Who designed the house? And I'm like, well, I did. And they're like, wow, did you go to school for that? And I'm like, no. And one of the realtors said, well, I have a condo that needs to be sold and it really needs some help. Is there any way you can help me? And I did it. Like, I just pulled some stuff out of my house and put it, and it sold within a week. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be onto something. Like, this needs to turn into something lucrative, So that's kind of where that came in, that idea.
First of all, I love it. I love it. It's like, for me, interior design is a lot like fashion. Like, I know what I like, but I don't have the patience or the really the patience or the know-how to like go here and pull this from here and pull this from there from different places to do it. And that's why I like working with somebody, because I'm like, well, I don't have that innate or natural ability. And it's great that you have that. And because this is a podcast about growing and growing into yourself, I love that you identified that you had a skill that you could use and that you loved, one, and that you can make money from, which is amazing. That, I think people often doubt themselves or they doubt their talent. And I think it's awesome that you didn't do that. You were able to take advantage of something that somebody saw in you, and you were able to take advantage of that. That's awesome.
Thank you. And can I add to that, if I can, like, I didn't know that was a gift or anything. I remember praying about this, Sonia, and I'm like, God, I'm telling you, I'm like, I don't have like a skill or a talent or a hobby. And I'm telling you, it was a mistake. And I was just praying to him. I was like, can you just bring some fulfillment to my life? Just something to show, why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I serve? And I promise within a month, that's when the realtors I was just in a transition. I'm like, what's going on? But within that transition, I found this. And so I just had to share that. I always share
I love that. I love that, because yes, I love that. And I think that it speaks to asking God for what you want and also listening for what the answer is, because talent is manifested in different ways. And so if you weren't listening, or you had an idea of what you thought talent was, and you know what I'm saying? So it's listening and seeing that opportunity when it's presented to you, even in the smallest ways.
Right.
So let's get into a little bit about design and designing your house. So I think, I liken it to fashion, because I feel like they're very similar in a lot of ways. But, when you're thinking about your home, first of all, I tend to think that people who are stylish with their clothes or stylish with fashion are also great with putting a house together. That could be a stereotype, but that's what I found in my life.
I think so too. I think hairstylists as well, like good hairstylists, if you see, usually they put a salon together. I mean, I just think creative people are creative.
Are creative. Yeah, that's getting me. Okay. So when you're thinking about your home, how do you figure out what your style is? If you are type, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can really speak to this, and I thought about this. I can really speak to it because, like you could be really good at something, but when it comes to you doing it for yourself, you're like, well, what do I like? Like, what do I like? And so when it came for me to, the house that I was telling you about that the realtor came to see, I had no idea what to do with that house. It was brand new, just 4 white walls. I'm like, what do I do? But I remembered during our travels, I had little pieces from different places, or a portrait or a mask or a vase. And I'm like, well, I know that I really love this piece. So usually I start with one piece that I really like, and then I continue to build onto it. So if it's a portrait, a huge portrait that I really like, I'm like, well, I can start pulling colors out of this, or if it's a piece for my travels, I'm like, well, you know what? When I was traveling to Bali or this place, I'm like, I really like the wood tones. I really like organic pieces. And that's how you start identifying like what you like, and you just go more in that area.
Okay. So you can start to look at colors you wear often that you love, or a piece of art that you love, or a shirt that you really like the pattern in, and kind of use that for inspiration.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so how much does the type of house that you have? So there's like, brand new houses that kind of don't look the same, but then you have like colonials. I have a split level now, which it was very different from my traditional house that I had last time. And I'm like struggling to figure out how do my furniture from my old house doesn't really quite fit in the same way as this house. So how much does the design of the house play into what you should do with it? Should you consider that?
I think that's a good question. And I think that it plays a major part. So like right now we're renting a house in San Diego, and it's an older home, and it has like oak cabinets, and it has like just different things. And when I first moved here, I'm like, what am I going to do? But what I did was I went with the style of the house. So because it's like, a little older, I never was into farmhouse things, and I'm still not, but I see myself buying more things that fit in this house, like the things that can't leave the house, like the oak cabinets. So now I'm buying like oak cutting boards, with a little marble in it to bring the oak cabinets out. You just have to kind of go with it. Don't try to change the style. If it's a traditional or colonial house, go more in that realm. Don't try to make it a very modern industrial house, because that's not what it is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
Okay.
You have to play with what's there. And do you subscribe to people who go into a house, and like if they are living in an older house, and it's just like, this is the problem I had with my old house. The house was built in like 1920 something, but it was renovated inside, but they stripped all of the original character out of the house. And I felt like there was no character. There was character that they put in there, like tray ceilings and crown molding and molding on the walls, but it wasn't they took out a lot of the original features of the house. Okay. So I feel like with actually let's get back to identifying your style. So you pick a few things that you like. What else is helpful? So if I am working with a designer, what else is helpful? I know you mentioned like Pinterest, you can there, I've never done
Yeah.
I've never done that, but go ahead.
And some people are totally against it, but maybe it's just the way my brain works, but I'm like all over the place. So to hone in,
Mhm.
I like to make Pinterest boards to keep everything organized. So like if I'm moving into a new home, and then I find one item that I like and I just keep adding on to it. Like my clients, I always tell them start a Pinterest board. And when they're pinning things, it's all like the same thing over and over. Everything's white,
Oh,
everything's grays, everything's modern, everything's kind of furry. And then I know, okay, well, they like transitional or they like glam. So when you
mhm.
start gathering everything, then you can see a pattern of what it
Okay.
is that you like.
So the
Mhm.
goal is really to stick yeah, to pick things that you would want in a house,
Kind of
not
like,
things that necessarily that you think go together. So you're not trying to design your room. You're just
right
trying to
now.
pick what you like.
Yeah, what your eye naturally goes to. Oh, I like that. Ooh, let me pin it. Oh, I like that. Oh, pin it. So then me as a designer, I can look at that and say, I know what they like. It's just starting with an inspiration. You have to get
Mhm.
inspired. I think that's what it is. It's inspiration,
Okay.
just to get
And also,
inspired.
I
Mhm.
also wonder when you're working with clients, do you ever encourage them to get out of their comfort zone? Do you keep them in their comfort zone? Because this is something you're going to be living with for a while and you're probably going to invest in. How far outside of your stylistic comfort zone should you go?
I think that's a very good question. I think when you have a designer, someone who does this often, and you already seek them out, you've seen their portfolio. That's when you can kind of go out of your realm because they're the professional, and you've seen their portfolio and you love it. So I think you're not just in there just picking things. You actually, sought out a skilled and professional person, and you can
Mhm.
trust their expertise. So I think that's when you can kind of go out of your element. But I think that um, also design changes every 10 years, you
Every 10
know,
years. Yeah. Yeah.
every
I
10
do
years.
worry
Like,
about that. Yeah.
so like golds were in for a long time, and then everyone went to like brush nickel, and now golds are back again. So I think it just depends on what it is that you're doing as far as your comfort zone. So if it's something like flooring or maybe tile for your bathroom, I don't think that's something you want to play with because you have to rip it all down. But if it's a paint color, if it's a rug, you can go crazy.
Mhm. Okay.
You can go way out of your element. But if it's like flooring and tile, maybe you might want to do your research.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And do you normally push people a little bit? Like, I'm like, I'm gonna push the envelope a little. I
I
think she like the
I try. I try. I'm so excited. I mean, I love my West Coast clients. I love them. I mean, I love all my clients, but I think on the East Coast we're much more just like we're not scared of color, we're not scared of pattern. We love that urban kind of a feel. And so I'm excited to get back out there and do some more fun stuff.
I never thought about that, but I guess when you think about California, you get spacious,
Hmm.
very like neutral colors because
Hmm.
I guess because they're
Very.
near the water and
Yes.
yeah, I mean, they're
Yes.
beautiful
So I
houses.
appreciate it.
Well,
Yes, I
mhm.
appreciate it all. Yeah. But
Okay.
but I'm just saying here it's hard to push those, big bold murals and all that type of thing unless it's like a commercial space, then people are more willing to kind of get a little
Hmm.
crazy.
And you also do, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but you do homes and you also do businesses.
Yes, commercial spaces. Yep.
Very
Hmm.
nice. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about working with a interior designer because it is a luxury.
Hmm.
It's a privilege that you can have. And if you can afford it, I think it really, to me, working with you, it's like, well, first of all, I was like, I like these colors. Go.
That's right. You
I
did.
don't, because I don't want to, I just want a really nice pulled together house. But
Hmm.
what are some things that people should consider when they want to work with an interior designer?
I think you should consider your budget, what your
Okay.
expectations are, what your overall expectations are. Then
Hmm.
what's your investment for those expectations? Does that fit together? I think that's really important. We see HGTV, we see the magazines, we see Instagram. We want it just like that for like $1,000. and and it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work
Yes.
that way. So we have to realistically come up with, what we want and how much we're willing to invest in that. I think that's the most important, one of the most important pieces.
And when you
And
think,
this,
go ahead.
sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No,
Go
you
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have cut you. I'm working on that, guys. But I always have these questions. But when you think about like personality, how you mesh with different clients, how is it, how do you make sure you're working with a personality that matches with yours?
I think that's so important, Sonia. And I didn't realize how important that was. You just, because this is an intimate service, and there's just so many moving parts. We have the contractors, we have the architect, we have all of these. So it's very important that everyone works well together, and that we have a common goal in mind. But I think that's why you really need to, before hiring a designer or a contractor, or anyone, you need to vet, you need to ask for references, read the Yelp reviews. What are people saying about this person? I wish there was a place where we can look up clients, just, what kind of client are they going to be?
Right.
But
Sucks for you. No.
Yes, but also the consultation is a great time for the meet and greet. Just because
true.
I consult with you, that doesn't mean you have to hire me, and that doesn't mean I have to work with you. So that 1 hour consultation, that initial meeting, that tells each person a lot if we're going to work well together.
You mentioned HGTV, and I was going to mention those because I think while they have done a great job at opening people's mind to what is possible, right? I also think it probably could make your job harder because the expectation, number one, we're seeing something in an hour or 30 minutes that probably took months to do. A lot of times they don't share the budget. And so you don't know how much things cost. And so I feel like there's probably a disconnect. And then you have Instagram, where everything is stylized and beautiful, and you only see the end result. So I can imagine that would make your job harder in terms of managing expectations of people when they're doing this.
Right. I think it's that. And I also think it's like accessibility. Clients can get to things a lot easier now, than they would before. People just individuals, we just knew to go to Value City or to Sears, or now you have Wayfair, you have Amazon putting the whole board together for you. It's just so much more easier. Look, oh God, I don't want to give you any ideas. I don't want to give you any
Wait,
ideas,
I didn't know that.
But no, really, it's just so much easier now. The internet makes everything accessible for everyone. So clients are price matching, and everyone that wants to do it themselves, which that's good. But for a luxury service, if you don't have the time or the expertise, then you'll pay the money. But this service isn't for everybody.
Yes, it's not. That's why that's why I call it a privilege, because it is definitely not something that everybody can do. So let's talk a little bit about budget, which trips me up a lot because I don't really know where to start. Like I'm thinking huge. I'm like, I'm gonna need, this huge amount, thousands and thousands of dollars to do something. How do you come to a decision with your clients about how much money? I mean, obviously they make that decision because like, how much money do you have? And then what can we do with that? How do you decide
so I budget? So I think honestly, when people hire me, it's usually their first time working with a designer. So they really have no idea how much this can cost. So just from experience, I can give approximations, or we can come up with a budget and kind of a forecast of how much things will cost. And for me, I work in hours, 20-hour packages. So we'll start with 20 hours for the first phase. And usually we work in phases for the projects because they're big. So we can work in, 2 phases or stages, should I say. Stage 1 and stage 2, you're downstairs first, stage 1, and then stage 2. But that's how I like to do it. I like to break it into smaller parts so that, it's better for everyone.
Right. It's more manageable. And
definitely.
So, because you work in hours, how do you determine how many hours so I guess my question is, when you bring in contractors and people to help move the work, do you find those people, or do I find those people? Who finds the contractors and the electricians and the plumbers and all that stuff?
So I have a list of individuals that I work with here,
Mm-hmm.
but right now and where I am in business, I give this list to my clients of individuals that I've already worked with and vetted, but they hire them individually.
Mm-hmm.
They hire them on their own.
Right.
And
And
yeah, and they work that out and I'm just simply the design portion.
okay. And then you come in
Mhm.
and you're working with them because
Yep.
they're like moving stuff and putting a wall up or taking a wall
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
And then you work with them to say, this is a vision. Put that
Right,
there or
exactly.
something.
So it starts with a consultation with me. My client and I, we come up with a vision together. Well, they let me know their inspirations, what they love, and I go home and 10 to 14 days, I come back with a proposal of this is what I think it'll cost. This is what I'm proposing we do. And then we'll go
Mm-hmm.
through a few options and they're like, I love B.
Mm-hmm.
And then they see the price of what I think B is going to cost. B is going to be 20 hours to start with. I'm proposing that it'll be approximately this much. These are the tradesmen that I work with and call these individuals. And then they'll tell me, oh, I talked to Marco. We're going to hire him for this. We talked to the painter.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hire him for this. And then they're just using all of my ideas. I'm coming up with the paint, the molding, the trim, the doors, the window, like everything I'm picking. But the other individuals are installing everything.
That sounds amazing. Like, yes,
Mhm.
pick all that stuff for me, please.
Exactly, but I don't have to deal with the headache or the liability of what the contractors are doing. I did all
Mhm.
that. It was just a lot for me. So
Yeah.
yes.
And I should say that, I mean, I think, when you refer to HGTV, um, um, TV shows and magazines like that, first of all, they make you think. I remember back in the day, HGTV used to be purely decorating. Like it was,
Right.
they did not tear down walls. They did not tear down the house and build a new house. It was,
Hmm.
I am going to decorate this room
Hmm.
and you'll see how to decorate. Now, a wall got to come down on every
Oh yes,
episode.
yes. Or else you're not
Some
doing anything.
or you're
Yeah.
not doing anything.
I'm telling you.
And so, when we worked together, it was really, I'm like, I need this room decorated. And so we didn't
Mhm.
tear down any walls. You just
Mhm.
decorated the space. But you do
Right.
both. You do.
Yes, yes. So I do full renovations and I do decorating as well,
Okay.
decor, styling, but I also do full renovations.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I can say to people out there, I'm like, join the decorating.
Mhm.
There's my, I could have sworn I had it on airplane mode, but
Me
apparently not.
too. Me too.
I'm like, it is on airplane mode. Okay. Oh, I should have put it on do not disturb. I'm just gonna edit this out, Jenna. So
Oh,
just bear
okay.
with me. Um, because this person will email me. I mean, will keep texting me until I'm not disturb. Okay. I forgot where I left off.
um, we were
God.
talking about renovations, and I didn't do a whole renovation for
Oh,
you.
okay.
It was just. Mhm.
Yes, when you renovated my house, we didn't do an entire renovation.
Mhm.
And it was great because we had, I had two little kids. We didn't have I mean, I wanted to rip up my kitchen because I hated it. But we didn't have the time or the money or
Mhm.
the wherewithal to do it then. And so you
Mhm.
just came in one day, like you redecorated my house when I was at work.
I did.
My first level. And it was awesome. And I mean, everything. You did the living room and the dining room for us. So, and I don't even think that when you came, you didn't even, like, I had these old couches and I was like, I
Mhm.
didn't have time to buy the new couches yet. And you were like, it's okay. When you get your new couches, get this color
Mhm.
and you can
Mhm.
get, these three colors of couches, this style of couch. And
Mhm.
we did, when it was time to buy the couch and it just blended in perfectly.
What color
So,
couch did you get?
gray. I think
Okay,
I did gray,
great.
but did you want me to get blue? I can't
I
remember.
think so,
You
because
gave me a
yes,
couple of choices.
it was blue or gray, I think. Okay. I was
Yes.
just
Well,
wondering. Yeah.
I didn't go
Mhm.
too far off what you said because
Yes,
I
yes,
didn't want to mess it up. And then
yes.
you also bought this picture. Uh,
Right.
it's not where you put it originally, but
Are you still in the, are you still at the same place? Are you in the
No.
same home that I didn't think so. Okay.
Yeah, we moved. We're in a split level now, which
Okay,
I am just like, and I'm dying to do something to it. Actually, like the whole house, I want to redo it. I don't think the people who lived here had done anything with it since the 80s. And this orange, I used to be a big fan of orange. I don't know, not so much anymore, maybe green, but I want to do something with this
with the orange
half wall or whatever,
yeah.
Just take it down. Anyway, so one of the things that, probably keep people from doing their home the way they want to are children. I mean, these little rugrats. I mean, I've said to myself or debated with myself or talked to my husband, I'm like, look, I'm just going to put something in here and because they're just going to ruin it and not do that. So how can you keep your home stylish when you have kids?
So I would say 90% of my clients have young kids. 90%. So, and that's the first thing in the consultation. They're like, I really want to pay, but I don't want my kids to waste my money. They're going to spill something. I don't want any white. I don't want anything light.
Right.
So, I think the most important thing is like more is less, or less is more, should I say. Less is more when you're dealing with a larger family. So we have a sofa, a nice sectional, everyone can fit, maybe a side chair, a huge, something in the middle where we can store things, like a TV console with doors so we can store more things, but we just don't want a lot of clutter. Yes. I think that's really important. And I think when you can eliminate items, you can get better quality items, and
that's true.
Right. Things that don't tear up as easily, and that's one of the tips. I think that's there. I think having durable fabrics, fabrics, not like suede or something that would get ruined, but something that's wipeable. Even the paints that's wipeable. There's different types of paint. There's one where if the child puts their chocolatey hands on it, it's ruined.
Right.
And then there's the other paint where, the child puts the chocolate, you can wipe it right off, but some people that don't work in the field, they don't know the different options that, of what's out there. But there's so many things, even for your furniture, there's like Scotch Guard, Scotch Guard, right? Right, yeah. Exactly. So a lot of people know we can Scotch Guard the furniture so we don't have to worry about the spill or the chocolate. It just repels, it wipes right off. But that's me being your sounding board and reassuring you this is what we're going to do. It's very possible to still have a stylish space for you and your family.
Yeah, I'm always in awe of people who, I mean, I don't know if it's social media or I have friends who have, your sister is one of them, who has an immaculate house. And I'm like, I have two boys. Like I think my kids are old enough that they're out of the destructive age, like, holes in things, scissors in things. Now, I don't think I have to worry about smiley faces on my table like I did last time. My daughter drew a big smiley face on the cabinet door. So, I mean, I think I'm out of that stage, but it's good to know that your kids don't have to stop you from having a nice home. And
I have a question for you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, ask me.
The question that I have, I don't have kids. So I was just wondering, like, when those things are they happening when you're not looking? Are they happening in common areas like the living room, or is this in their bedroom? What's going on?
So for my daughter, it's both. And it's always not like, you won't notice them until weeks, months later. Like I didn't notice that she drew a smiley face because the table is darker, but she used a yellow or like a gold pen. And I'm walking past one day and I just see this shimmer of a smiley face and with a smile. And I'm like, what is that? And she does that. And then she had an obsession with scissors. I was just talking about this the other day, where she would cut everything.
Oh, wow.
Like it drove me crazy. Like, and I was like, and her school would be like, she needs scissors for school. And I'm like, well, we banned scissors, so she can only keep them at
school.
Right. Yeah. And she's also sneaky. When we moved out of our last house, it was like a science experiment. Our realtor can tell you, she was like, I don't know what we're going to do with this room. Her carpet was multicolored. She scratched hearts in her closet, like with pins, like it was embossed.
She's an artist. I think
She
she's
is an artist. She's definitely an
that's
artist.
what's going on.
Yes. We had to get a rug to cover her carpet because I was like, I'm not replacing it. And they tried to clean it and it didn't come clean. But she put her name in corners. She'll have stickers and her name and doodler. She is definitely an artist, but she's destroyed a lot of areas of our
Yes.
house.
Okay. Because the question that you asked was, what can we do to keep the home, kid friendly? And I was just wondering if they had a designated space, like a kid's room. I know you had that huge basement. Like, what if there was a kid's room with huge canvases and murals where she could go crazy? Would this be happening if they had their own space? That's why I asked, when is this happening? What's going on?
I mean, I think when she did a lot of that stuff, she was very young. And so sometimes you can't, she was like 5 maybe. And it's like, when kids that are young like that, you don't want them to be alone too long, because with her, it's like, you're too quiet. But now when she destroyed her room, I didn't really care. When she did all that to the wall, I didn't care. I didn't. When the closet had hearts all over it, her name she played tic-tac-toe in the closet wall.
Oh my!
It was
hers. I
love
it. Look, I kind of love it.
It was her wall. I did not care. It was like, do that in your room. I don't care. I mean, at this point, but but what I also say about you coming in and decorating our house is that I had a foundation to work from. And so I knew that if they messed up everything or their clothes were everything, when I picked it up and put things back, it still looked great. It is just you're just removing the clutter, or you're removing whatever it is that they brought into the room. And it still looks great. And that's why, I loved it, because I'm like, oh, it still looks great, even though it's, it may be messier than when Jenna did it. It's not sparkling, but that's also why I invested in somebody to come clean our house on a regular basis now.
That's right.
Because I'm like, if I'm gonna do all this, I want it to sparkle, and for other reasons too. But I just liked having that foundation. It's like, okay, well, I know where this goes. I know where the ottoman goes. I know, if they move everything off the shelf, I can put it back the way you had it, and it's not a big deal. So
I love that. You see me smiling because Kizzy, I don't know if you had a book club or something over there, and she's like, oh my God, Sonia's house looks just the same. And then when people call me about Kizzy's house, they're like, Kizzy's house looks just the same. She didn't change anything. I love that. I love that this is the foundation, and you have a place, like you said, you just straighten up a little bit and it's back.
You straighten up, and even when it's messy, it still looks great. No, I did not change a thing. We had our wine and we sat on our little plush carpet, and we had girl talk, and that was what I always wanted to do. And I didn't do in my other space because I was like, it's not decorated the way I want. So
I love that.
What small things can you do if you just want to, maybe you don't have the budget to hire a designer, maybe you don't have the time or whatever, but what small things can you do to bring some life into your home if you feel like it needs a breath of fresh air?
Yeah, I think it always starts with having a clean, organized space.
Okay.
Like just a good deep cleaning. That's number one. Number one off the top. I think another inexpensive way to transform a space is to paint a wall. Just like an accent wall, just behind your bed, behind or on the TV wall, just whatever main wall you're looking at, or as soon as the main item is on that wall, you want like an accent wall. So I think that's a quick way to transform the space. So now we got an organized, clean space with a brand new wall. And I think greenery like plants and lighting. Lighting is so important. Just a new lamp on your nightstand, or a new, just a new, I think lamps and plants and curtains and
just come and do it, Jenna. Just come do it. No, yeah.
No. No, those are the top things. I think the organized space. I think an accent wall and lighting and plants. I love plants because it makes my space feel alive. It makes it feel, alive and finished. And yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Yeah. I like plants. That you, that they're not complicated, and that you also started with just a deep clean, because that'll just make, number one, cluttered mind. I mean, cluttered house, cluttered mind, or cluttered space,
Yes.
cluttered mind.
Yes.
And just starting there can make a huge difference in how you feel. And
Right.
if you bring in a plant or two,
Yes,
on top
yes.
of your clean house, that's like a good place to start without too
Right.
much commitment, without too much money. And it can really change your space. And another thing I learned when I was selling my house, which I never did, my realtor came in and was like, "Why is your house so dark?" Because I never opened the blinds.
Lighting.
Except when you did our home and you put window coverings up, you made it was like sheer, so you can so the only place that had a lot of light was the living room, because that's kind of the way you did it. That's the way I left it. But she was like, "You need to open your windows and open your blinds." And now I do that all the time to just let some natural light in.
Yes, yes, with the plants. Yes, yes. It's
With some
totally
plants.
right. Open it up, brighten it up, liven it up. When you walk in, it should feel alive. Like your space feels clean and living.
Yeah. So the last thing, and I hate this is the last question because I should have put it up further so we can end on a positive note. But what mistakes do people make when they are either working with an interior designer, or when they're just embarking on their renovating their space?
Did you say mistakes they make? We go back to the not budgeting properly. I think you really have some kind of a cushion, or else we're all going to be standing still and waiting for pieces to come together. And even if we work in stages and phases, that's fine. Stage one at least should be like, for you, if we're renovating a house, stage one would be getting our drawings together. All the drawings from the architect, so we can have a realistic outlook on what we're going into. I really think just just having a visual of what the project is going to look like, and what your plan is for it. Some people just really don't know. They have no clue, so they're frustrated because they're like, well, I thought I had. Just having a plan for yourself, that's really, really important. I think that it starts there. Vetting the correct people. Like, go into business with people that you have reviews, you've done your work, you vetted them, you've read their reviews. I think a lot of, especially when working with contractors, you really have to check out their work. Everything that looks good isn't good. You have to know who you're hiring. So I think that's another big one. And just having an open mind and trusting the process. I think that's a huge one. Trusting the process, trusting your designer once you've hired them. It's very important. You just like when someone's cooking your food, if you go to a restaurant, you kind of have to trust who's back there because they're back there. But so it's the same. You just have to trust.
You don't see them working. Just trust that it's going to be good.
Unless you see otherwise, unless you see otherwise. Don't freak out is what I'm saying. Don't freak out.
Don't freak out. Well, Jenna, it's been so great talking to you today. You gave us a lot of good tips, a lot of beautiful thoughts about how you came to find your way on this path and finding your talent. I think it's amazing. She is amazing, guys. She has beautiful work. She's not only beautiful, but she also does beautiful work, which is amazing. And she's also very sweet, like so sweet and so nice. And does amazing work. So you really, can't go wrong in that regard. So where can people find you? What do you have going on?
So you can always find me on Instagram or Facebook at Heaven Sent Design. You can always find me on my website, www.heavensentdecor.com. Yes, fill out a design questionnaire, reach out to me and I'll be there. And as you said, I'm very flexible and, willing to work with your situation, whether you're transitioning, whether you just want to revamp, you want a staging, I'm very versatile. I kind of do it all.
You do.
Yes,
awesome. Yes. Well, thank you, Jenna, for joining us for this time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And everybody else, I will see you next time.